99% of the people, including Vin and I's friends, that have all these great ideas and these great ambitions, and they don't do it because they're scared of what if I fail? What if, this blows up? What if I succeed? What if I make all this money and potential? Right? And they just
Yeah.
don't end up doing it. And then they waste their whole life working for somebody else, growing somebody else's company, and just waste their talents away, waste their dreams away, their ambitions away. So this podcast is really to enlighten people, to encourage them to make that leap, to give it a shot.
All right, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the 1% Podcast. I'm your host, Vin End.
And I'm Shane.
And today we're joined by my man, Sam. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Of course, dude. Well, Sam, it was my pleasure getting to know you. We met a few weeks back. I think you're an awesome guy. Love the hairstyle. Man, I mean, guys,
it's new, by the way. It's new. I've had the normal spike, similar to Shane's, for about 25 years. And honestly, once I got engaged, I was like, yes, you want to still look good, but I'm less impressing the ladies. So I'm trying to grow it out, and we're getting the flow a little bit in the back. So we're going to keep it going.
I tell you, for all you people who don't see him on video, he's a cross between a very serious VC or a James Bond villain. But either way,
Yeah,
he
right.
looks phenomenal. So
That's
Sam,
what title insurance is.
Yeah, Sam, tell the people who you are, what you do, how you're doing it. Give a little bit of the updates of your journey and what you're up to in life.
Sure. Again, I appreciate you guys having me to kind of summarize my background into where I got to today. So I'm 27, but I turned 28 in about 2 to 3 weeks. I was born and raised in Roslyn, New York, which is on Long Island. From there, I went to Indiana University. I was a direct admit to the Kelley School of Business, was a business management major, had a great 4 years, highly recommend Indiana. And, if you don't know what you want to do, but you're interested in business, I highly recommend Kelley as well. When I graduated college, I knew I was interested in the real estate realm, but I didn't really know much about real estate other than, it's a very vague industry. So I went to one of my closest family friends who's a very successful owner and operator of buildings, mostly in the 5 boroughs in Manhattan. And, I said to him, "You've known me my whole life. You're obviously very successful in the real estate realm. What do you suggest is a good career path for me?" And he was like, "Listen, you have good communication skills, interpersonal skills, everything on the forefront. I suggest either brokerage or title insurance." And I was like, I mean, I'm interested in brokerage. What the is title insurance? I'm 21, 22 years old, and I've never heard of it in my life. Um, so he pretty much gave me a quick rundown, which I'll get into, but it's essentially, building strong relationships with real estate professionals, and it's a niche sector. You need it on every deal. So he introduced me to his title guy, and I ended up joining them. So I got into the title insurance industry, give or take around 7 years ago. I started my career with a firm called Langdon Title. I was the vice president, mostly doing sales and business development there. I was there for about, give or take, 5 years. Um, it was a great 5 years. I have great things to say about the company and the firm. I learned everything I need to know. I started to build my book of business. COVID, we went through before COVID, after COVID. And COVID happened to be a good time for my industry just mostly because the interest rates dropped to like less than 3%. So since you need title insurance in every deal, we not only got a bunch of purchase business, but we had a lot of refinance business as well. So COVID actually helped me take my career to the next level. Unintentionally, obviously. A little about a year and a half ago, I took another job as a managing director at a firm called Riverside Abstract, which was another prominent title insurance firm within the space. I was there for about 4 months, and then Riverside got under investigation by the Department of Justice for, I don't want to get into too much legal because I don't know what I'm supposed to say, but it is public knowledge. They got into some legal issues. So with the leadership team, who, by the way, I have only great things to say about Riverside. We did very well together for the 4 months. They helped me see a new side of the business. I helped them generate business and everything went smoothly. But, once everything happened with these legal issues, it was the right time for me, to take the next step in my career, just for many obvious reasons. So when that happened, I was speaking with all of the different title insurance firms or real estate firms within mostly the New York City metro area, because I live in, as you can probably see, I live and work in Manhattan. So I really spoke to 20 to 50 different firms in the space. And I got connected with an attorney who was in-house counsel at another title insurance firm. And, we had a coffee, we just talked about things. And I went home that night, and my fiance, who works in the real estate realm as well, not with me on the title end, but she understands. She was like, wait, so you went to coffee with an attorney who has both legal and title experience, and you are mostly the forefront sales, business development, operations, client management, and you didn't even bring up partnering up and starting your own firm? And I was like, I didn't think of it like that. I was just, it didn't really cross my mind. So she kind of sparked something in my mind. And I called up my now partner the next day. I was like, I think we need to meet again ASAP. He's like, why? we just met for coffee, and I said I have something interesting to present, and I presented that I think we complement each other tremendously in what we both do within the industry, and I think we'd be great partners. And after a little getting to know each other and convincing, we ended up partnering up. So we, I guess you could say, launched the firm in, give or take, I would say March 1st of 2024. So we just hit a little over a year. My firm is called Brooklyn Land Title. We're a national title insurance firm. We have two offices. We have one in Midtown Manhattan, where I am right now. My partner sits within our Park Slope, Brooklyn office, hence Brooklyn Land Title. But we work with all of the major underwriters in the title end, so we really have the ability to handle any deal, any size, anywhere across the country. We do both residential and commercial purchases, refinances, and loans. Title insurance, which I was saying before, is a very niche product, but it's a mandatory part of the transaction process. And, we pretty much make sure that there's no liens, encumbrances, issues. Essentially, there's a smooth transfer of ownership from seller to buyer. So when you purchase your asset and you close, it's free and clear of any issues. Simplest way, like for a non-real estate person to think about it, is, let's say you buy a house, just you're not in real estate, you buy your first home. A week later, somebody randomly knocks on your door and says, "This is my house, get out." What are you going to do? I'm assuming your guy's initial thought in your head, or most people, is call the cops. Great. The cops show up. How do they know whose house it is? You have to have the proper title insurance and documentation, which is, we do the deed and everything like that, showing that, the property is yours. So that's essentially what we do. I am the managing partner, but my main role is really being the forefront of the company, you know, generating new business as well as maintaining our current relationships. And a fun fact about title insurance that most people don't know is our pricing is fixed. Title insurance is a one-time premium that you pay at closing, and it's based off of the purchase price and loan amount. So we and all our competitors, we generally charge the exact same price. I mean, there are some ancillary fees, but the fees are all should be the same, because we're all fixed in terms of our pricing. So my whole business is based off of being a value add for real estate professionals. So I'm looking to best understand what you guys do, be able to give you the proper, whether referrals, introductions, leads, off market deals, debt, equity. I mean, now I can get into real estate terms, but essentially, how can I drive business your way to be your preferred title vendor and your preferred recommender in return? Additional to my title services, which is our main focus at the firm. We also can assist as a 1031 exchange qualified intermediary. So, simple terms, what that is for the public: every time you run a 1031 exchange, which is a tax benefit, saving you from paying capital gains, you need a you need a 1031 qualified intermediary to pretty much hold the escrow funds and do all the proper documentation to make it a legal 1031 exchange. So we could act as a qualified intermediary. And then we also do cost segregation studies. My vice president of sales, his name is Alon Jacobowitz. He came over with me from my old firm, Riverside Abstract, where he was primarily focusing on cost segregation studies. So he's now doing that as well as title insurance with me. But we have the relationships with CPAs and estimators and such that we can guide you through the cost segregation study process, which is also a tax saving benefit, I guess you could say. So those are our three channels, which are all real estate transactional channels. Additional from that, I guess you could say I'm a real estate investor, both, as a GP, where I look for non-grocery anchored retail strip centers, mostly with my brother-in-law, and then I've invested with other real estate professionals as well. So that's the whole general background to where we are today, I would say.
That's pretty cool, man. First off, happy birthday coming up here.
Appreciate
Where
it.
were
April
you a few
14th.
months
So
ago?
we're close.
Awesome. Yeah, I just did my cost segs on my rental properties, my new rental properties that I got last year. So I wish I would have met you a couple months ago.
It's all right.
But
Maybe in the future. So
yeah, but now I can use you for 2025 new ones here. So
there we go.
that's awesome. No, I want to bring this conversation to because our main demographic is people who want to become entrepreneurs or have already come small business owners and want to transition to entrepreneurs. So I want to talk about that mindset that you are currently in. I mean, I love the impulsiveness that, a conversation that you had with your fiance turned into, hey, let's meet immediately. But what else came to mind, right? Because leaving like a corporate setting, a salary, a job, comfortability, and going into opening up your own firm with a business partner, that's
Yep.
a big choice and a
Mhm.
big leap, which is great because that's what Vin and I did, right? We decided to leave that setting and jump in both feet with this.
Yep.
So, can you walk me through that decision and like how long did it take for your like this is real, this is going to happen, this is what I need, comfort wise or whatever it is? What made you fully leap into bed with this partner and becoming a full-time entrepreneur?
Well, to tell you this, when I decided that, I wasn't going to be another W-2 employee and not have a steady salary, which is what, let's just say two weeks to a month after I left my old job, I was shitting bricks. I was very
Yeah,
nervous, like I was
right.
like, what does tomorrow bring? I don't really know. At least I used to know that I had a salary coming every whether biweekly or monthly, but at least you have that stability behind you. So at first, it was very nerve-wracking. I obviously have to put it out there because I agree
Yeah,
with what you're saying. It's a very bold decision, but my thinking behind it was I'm in the industry for 7 years. I see myself progressing in it. And it was kind of the timeline, with this situation that happened to my old firm, that it kind of let me in a position to take the next step in my career. So I've always listen, I'm a very, ambitious guy. I've always my father, my grandfather who run a family business, they own the business, so I've seen it firsthand from my family. And then, what I've seen through the industries and just people is like the only way to really not the only way, I shouldn't say that. That's not right. But most of the top 1% owns their own business. It's very hard to get to that point of the top of the top if you're working for somebody else. There's usually always some type of capped potential. So when this all happened, obviously a lot of thoughts, a lot of things, a lot of discussions. I spoke with hundreds of people, which I'm going to get to at the end when we talk about it a little further. But, you know, it was a perfect situation because, this is a great time. You have the goal of doing this eventually. You're not locked into a job. Take the risk and see what happens. And at first, like I was saying, I didn't really know what the next day brought. I decided, me and my partner, we worked things out. I don't remember the timeline. It was a couple weeks, but because we had to get licenses for title and everything, but once we got that figured out, it was like, now what do I do? You know, I don't have any structure. I don't have anybody to report to. Like, what do I do tomorrow? And it just made me, want it even more. Now knowing that, I obviously want to be successful, but now that I have the brand and the company behind me, it's like,
Mm.
what can I do to really make this happen? And it's been a year. We've scaled tremendously throughout the year. Both internal, whether you could say employees, we have a couple employees now that work for us, both part-time and full-time, as well as in terms of our revenue. We've grown tremendously each quarter. Q4 was great for us. Q1 is about to end, I think. We've had a great Q1, so we're scaling tremendously. And the goal is just to keep growing as a firm, hiring great employees to help us grow in that sense. Obviously maintaining our current relationships with our clients, showing that, they're very important to us, but obviously gaining new clientele and relationships to grow the firm in terms of that. And yeah, I mean, listen, it's always, the answer is it's always going to be a leap of faith. It's never going to be a comfortable situation for anybody, leaving a steady role and then going on your own. But based off of my experience, if you're really a go-getter and you're looking to, take the next step and you're ready to hustle and do whatever it takes, I highly recommend it for anybody.
So Sam, I got a question for you. Have you your whole life been exposed to entrepreneurship, or is this something you just knew you wanted to get into? I have found that a lot of people transitioning into entrepreneurship actually don't always have it in their background. Some people do, but some people don't. And if you didn't, why did you want to just become an entrepreneur? I know you said it was because you want to try and live that 1% life and have more than, the average person, but what else is really in there for you? Like what drives you? What's your big ambitious future?
I mean, I definitely have goals of, being very successful and, living a very a good life upon that. So my goals, I mean, essentially is just to grow my firm, you know, and, you know, grow the firm because the general gist of what is I enjoy what I do. Obviously I'm going to say is make as much money as possible, be successful, and live a great life. That's the answer. Which in the end of the day, most people, 99% of people work to make money. I mean, it's not, it's not.
Right.
Nobody wants to technically work. The goal is obviously to be successful and make money. But you know, I found a niche asset class or sector, or I guess you could say profession, that I think fits my personality. So, I enjoy waking up every day and, doing what I do is which really building relationships with mostly real estate professionals on a daily basis, but, me being able to be social and have meetings and Zooms and phone calls, and go to events and all this stuff. Like, it really drives me every day to enjoy, I mean, I should say grow what I'm doing because I actually enjoy it. I'm not dreading doing what I'm doing every day. I would say that I was exposed to an extent of it. My grandfather, many years ago, 50 years ago, he was working in a delicatessen, and one of his friends said to him, I have a great opportunity in the medical school industry. He's in a very niche sector himself, which is in the education in the medical field, but he didn't know anything about it. He called his accountant and said, "How much can I afford if I take this risk?" And he then, took the risk. He's been in it for 50 years. My father works for him for about 30 years, 40 years, yeah, give or take. So, I have been exposed to that. Not like my family was, pushing me to do so myself. So that's what I'm saying. I was exposed, but it kind of, I've just always been really very outgoing and always wanting more type of person. So I think it was really generally just when the opportunity kind of presented itself for me, and when my fiance kind of made it aware, like, you're speaking to all these other title firms, but like you have the not the golden ticket, but you have a great opportunity for a potential great partner, like to take the next step and do it. Like, why wouldn't you? And she never did that, I mean, I have to give credit to Gabby, but if she didn't do that, I probably would have I was ready to sign another job. I had many different offers on the table from other firms. I was very experienced and, producer in the space, but, she kind of just switched that light bulb in my head. And then I was like, you're right. This is the perfect time to do it. And like I always had the thought in my back of my head, if it doesn't work out, those other jobs are still going to be there in the future. So you always, worst case, it's always, I'm only, as I said, 27 turning 28. So, relatively young. I mean, that's a relative term, but like, if I take the risk now, worst case scenario, I need to get back in the workforce working for somebody else, I could within my 30s. So, um, it was really just timing and, ambition on my own and no specific reasoning behind it, I would say. I kind of just went all over the place there, but I tried to hit on everything you mentioned.
Well, Sam, I mean, you've been an entrepreneur, and I think I want to point out to something that you said that a lot of people just kind of hold themselves like that risk of why they're not wanting to leap forward. It's something that really needs to be pointed out. I can just go back to what I was doing. I can just go back and get a job. Worst case scenario. It's the fact that 99% of the people, including Vin and I's friends, that have all these great ideas and these great ambitions, and they don't do it because they're scared. Because they're scared of what if I fail? What if, this blows up? What if I succeed? What if I make all this money and potential? Right? And they just
Yeah.
don't end up doing it. And then they waste their whole life working for somebody else, growing somebody else's company, and just waste their talents away, waste their dreams away, their ambitions away. So this podcast is really to enlighten people, to encourage them to make that leap, to give it a shot. Don't be dumb and, say, okay, if I got 2 or 3 months of savings and this is all I can give at it, then, try to find a route where maybe you can work part-time and create your dreams. Or if you
Uh-huh.
have a partner that is financially stable, talk to them, say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing, but I might not make any money for 6 months.
Uh-huh.
So can we do this? Can we do this and make this happen and push my dreams forward? And if you have a
Yeah.
good partner that supports you, they'll go in with you. And it sounds like that's exactly who your partner is, and they're supporting you and your dreams. And you're able to get to where you are now. You have a couple of employees. You've had a great year and 3 months already. Obviously, the sky is the limit here, which is amazing. And I own a huge VA company, so I'm looking forward to offering you virtual assistants
Uh-huh.
instead of inbound employees in the future. So that's going to be a nice win-win here.
I love
But
it.
my I guess where I want to bring this here is, I don't know. I personally think what you're doing is great, and I really just wanted to focus on that leap here. But is it just world domination? I know you're talking about like the goals for your business wise here, but do you have any personal goals for even you and your wife to tag team and open an operation? Do you have any personal stretch limits for these entrepreneurships? Like, I remember being my first year 10 years ago now as an entrepreneur, and it's like I just wanted so much. I know it's financially here, but when I got to my level, it was really time. Like, now that I've gotten to a point of success and reached that, 7, 8 figures, it's now I can do whatever I want with my time. And that's
Right.
really what I focus on. Like, that's what I try to like be successful at, is to get my time, focus on whatever I want to do. Personal goals, where is it? World domination?
Pretty much, it's just how do we scale? How do we scale and become one of the most prominent title firms within the space? I mean,
It takes.
and a lot of that does take with time. If I stick with it for the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 plus years, then
Yeah.
we're going to grow. I mean, that's just how it works. And it's worked like that for the past 7 years, and it's going to work like that for the next 50 years. So the goal
Yeah.
is just to scale and take it really to the next level, and hopefully be one of the most prominent title insurance agencies,
Hmm.
not only in New York but across the whole country. So yeah, I mean, I guess my fiance eventually, hopefully she could leave her job and work for us full time. We'd love to have her on board, but I do love having another job at the moment too, because you know, I don't know if we want to be together 24/7. So that's,
I'm
I
with
don't
you on
know.
that one.
That's for other people to discuss if they work with their wives, but no kids yet. So I guess that changes when things happen down the line.
It absolutely does.
But yeah, I think it's really just comes down to, you know, like you said, world domination, scaling the company, growing within the industry, maybe looking at different verticals as well. You know, title is our main focus, but maybe growing our 1031, our cost segregation studies, you know, just different avenues and verticals, whether in the real estate realm or not, that we could, you know, expand on our operations and everything that we offer, and, you know, really just grow and, you know, be successful and, you know, help people on the way. You know, like I I mean, I don't know if this is another question or not, but like I truly believe now, especially because of this, is try to find some type of profession that fits what you
Mm,
enjoy doing as a person. And it's very
that's really
hard
good.
because like I graduated college and like everybody wants to be in sports. You know, that's a very everybody loves watching sports. I want to be in sports, but what is that really? It's very hard. It's
Loose.
more like who are you? What I'm trying to say is like as a person, what is your strong suit? And mine is just being outgoing and talking to people. And
Love it.
you know, if I didn't network with I mean, at the time it was a family friend of mine, but like if I didn't speak with him and asked him, what do you think based off, you know, me, I wouldn't be here today.
Mm,
And my whole business is really just based off of networking. You know, I'm speaking with hundreds of people on a daily basis. As I said, you know, what do you do? How can we help you? And then not asking for anything in return, knowing that, you know, if I help them, it's going to eventually come back to me. So it's like, it's just really speak to as many people as possible, not only in your industry or potential clients of yours. See what they do, see what they think, you know, is a good, you know, potential career path for you. And I think based off of that, the right opportunities will arise.
it's
So,
crazy that networking to this day still applies, right? In this technology world where, you know, entrepreneurship is like stuck behind a computer screen and having these Zoom calls, that
yeah.
networking is still so powerful to this day. Um,
I
on
mean, I'm
the
not really like a tech savvy person, you know. I mean, listen, and also it's an interesting thing. Like you could look it up. Title insurance is a very it is an industry that is being looked upon about the blockchain and everything about technology.
mm,
Nothing has happened yet, but I know there's a bunch of startups that are looking into, you know, doing that. And, you know, I've always just been the traditional way. You need title insurance. This is how you get, you know, you order title, we run a report, we go to closing, like,
mhm.
and it's based off of networking and, you know, my clientele relationship. So until I see a tech, you know, related product or competitor or something that, you know, can enhance my business, but like I still do it the traditional way, and you know,
Yeah.
it's been working, I guess, enough that we're here now. So
Yeah, I
uh
mean, technology in general, it's just going to evolve and adapt with how you're currently doing things. And if
right,
anything, it'll just be a shift in the positive direction of
right, that's what I'm saying.
utilizing
Yeah,
another tool to help. But people dealing with people, that's still going to be the highest commodity that we can, you know, essentially do.
exactly.
On this podcast here, we talk about the 1% and living the 1% life, whatever that means to you. So I'm just curious, living the 1% life, what is that? What is that, your definition? What's that mean to you?
Like I said, pretty much what summarizing everything I said, enjoy what you're doing, you know, hopefully get to a point where you're financially stable that, you know, you could live out what your dreams are, and you know, and just enjoying every day-to-day life. You know, I think having a significant other around you is very important. I think, you know, motivating you to be successful, and then, you know, just having that inner self of being successful. You know, you have to want it more than anybody else. You know,
Mm,
there's so many different competitors that do exactly what I do, and that if one day I'm feeling lazy about reaching out to this person or going to a certain event, if I don't go, they will go.
mm.
So, you know, you really have to want it, is what I'm trying to say, to get to that top 1%. So yeah, it's really just keep growing what I'm doing, scaling, and enjoying my day to day. So
I mean, amen, baby. Couldn't have said any better myself.
yeah.
Well, unfortunately, Vin is having technical problems here, so I'm going to close this one out. If Sam, where can people reach you at if they need some questions about, title insurance, or they just want to even ask you some entrepreneurship questions about how you jumped in, or even just giving you a follow? Shout yourself out.
Anybody can reach me anywhere. Whether my cell, I can give it to direct, whether email, whether LinkedIn. There's many different ways you can reach out to me. And, to everybody listening, I appreciate you guys taking the time and listening to a little bit about my story. One, if you're interested in about title insurance, we'd love to speak a little further with you and, anybody in really, I guess you could say any industry. I'm always happy to speak with you. So please reach out, and always here to help any way I can.
I appreciate your time, man. All right. Well, you heard it from Sam himself. We will put his links in the actual chat, so make sure you give him a follow. Shoot him a DM. I'm sure he'll answer you and set up a call if you need to be.
For sure.
All right. As always, guys, thank you so much. Please leave a comment, like, share, follow. And as always, we will see you on the next one. That's Vin. He's having some technical problems. We're going to have to figure that one out. I'm Shane, and that's Sam.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.